gently. President Erdogan, the distinguished president of Turkey, leave the Kurds alone. Leave the Kurds alone. Kurds, as you know, Mr. President, are wonderful people. There are probably 30 to 40 million Kurds throughout the world. Some we're blessed to have here in the United States. They live mostly in Turkey, Iran, northern Iraq, and Syria. The Kurds are a distinct ethnic group. They're sort of a stateless country because they're spread all over the world. The Kurds are America's friends. Hadn't been that many years ago since ISIS was rising high. ISIS had established a caliphate in the Middle East. That's a fancy word for a country. They had established their own country in the Middle East. And America and other countries beat them back. We destroyed ISIS. They're still there, but we destroyed their caliphate. The people most responsible for helping us, most responsible for destroying ISIS, were the Kurds. We lost less than 20 American lives in destroying ISIS in the Middle East. Our friends from Kurd lost over 10,000. 10,000 fighting alongside us. Over 30,000 Kurds were wounded. Without the Kurds, ISIS would still be there. Now, Mr. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, does not like the Kurds. I'm not going to go into why. He's entitled to his opinion. But right now, Mr. Erdogan has troops and tanks and weapons marshaled on the border between Turkey and Syria. As we know, the people of Syria finally had enough. And they overthrew Mr. Assad, their president. Predictably, Assad, who we think stole billions of dollars from the good people of Syria, is now predictably living in Russia. We're going to try to find his money. Mr. Assad, like his father, is a butcher. He killed tens and tens of thousands of Syrians, and many of them he hurt the entire time they were dying. To keep power and his money, a lot of which he made by dealing drugs, he used chemical weapons against his own people. And now the people in Syria are free of him. Everybody ought to stay out of Syria. President Trump's already talked about it. Doesn't mean we can't offer our advice, but we all need to stay out of Syria. The defeat of Mr. Assad in Syria would not have happened but for Israel. We know that. You don't have to be a graduate of Caltech to know that. Israel destroyed Hezbollah, which was working with Iran, which was working with Russia to keep Assad into power. Russia and Iran and Hezbollah were on the side of the butcher. But Russia's tied up in Ukraine, and Hezbollah was holding down the fort while Russia was tied up in Ukraine, and Israel ignored the advice of many and just went out and destroyed Hezbollah. Thank you, Israel. But that's why the people of Syria today are free, and they're entitled to self-determine. Mr. Erdogan in Turkey, I worry, is going to invade Syria. I'm not accusing him of anything, but I worry that he is, because we have intelligence that he has many soldiers and many tanks and much equipment and many weapons right now stationed on the border between Turkey and Syria. And our Kurd friends are afraid that Mr. Erdogan, because of his hatred for the Kurds, is going to attack them. The Kurds live very peacefully in northeast Syria. So my message today is, President Erdogan, I don't want to mess in the affairs of your country, but don't do it. Leave the Kurds alone. Leave the people of Syria alone. Turkey has problems now. Turkey's supposed to be our friend. Turkey's a member of NATO. Lately, they haven't been acting like our friend. Turkey has its own problems. The interest rates, we think interest rates are high in America. They're close to 50% in Turkey. Some people think they're in a recession. Their inflation is between 40 and 50%. If you invade Syria and touch a hair on the head of the Kurds,